Hello, welcome to Rando Tech Info. So today we're talking about the Nubia RedMagic 7 and 7 Pro and whether or not they will work on your US carrier's network. As these are gaming phones, you would expect them to be strong in the area of performance, and apparently they do not disappoint. With the latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset, generous amounts of RAM, a 165Hz display, 500Hz dual shoulder triggers, a cooling fan, and a 65-watt fast charger included in the box, the early reviews of these phones say they're pretty great. At least for gamers. The camera and software experience are apparently not quite up to the same standards as performance, but when you consider this phone has a starting cost of under $650, you have to think they had to save some money somewhere. Shockingly, unlike most phones coming out of China these days, these phones are actually going to be sold here in the US. The base Magic 7 is actually already available for purchase, and the Pro is scheduled for release on April 27th. You can pick up all three models of the base 7 on Nubia's own website right now, but you can also pick up the 16 gigs of memory and 256 gigs of storage version on Amazon for $799, and I would honestly recommend going through Amazon if you do wind up purchasing this phone, since they seem to have a much more forgiving return policy than Nubia. That way, if you get the phone and it doesn't work as well as you expected, you should be able to send it back. Finally, one last thing I need to mention before we start talking about carrier policies and frequency bands is that both the base RedMagic 7 and the Pro are able to utilize the same frequency bands, so whatever I say about one phone applies to both phones. Speaking of both, if you find these kinds of videos to be useful, it would be great if you hit both the thumbs up and subscribe button before you go.
Jeez, that was a stretch.
Let's start with the bad news. Neither of these phones support millimeter wave 5G. This shouldn't be surprising considering the price point, nor do I think it's a big deal since millimeter wave coverage is so limited, but it's still something that needs to be mentioned. As for specific carrier compatibility, let's start with Verizon. Verizon is notorious for not letting unlocked phones on its network, but apparently some folks have got the base 7 activated on Verizon, and apparently the service is not horrible. The phone has the hardware to make use of 3 out of 7 of Verizon's 5G frequency bands, including a couple of their newly acquired C-band frequency bands. Now, Verizon has been a bit prickly about what phones they allow to use their C-band 5G, so whether or not the phone will be able to actually utilize those bands is questionable. As for 4G, the phone uses 4 out of 5 of Verizon's bands, but it's missing their biggest band, band 13. So the bottom line is you may get some decent 4G and 5G coverage with Verizon, depending on where you live, although a reliable experience is not guaranteed. AT&T normally doesn't let phones use its 5G network that aren't on its 5G whitelist, and as of right now, the phones do not appear to be on that list. That said, I have not heard any US reviewers complaining about a lack of 5G with the RedMagic 7 on AT&T yet, so hopefully it will work. Assuming you will get some 5G with AT&T, the hardware story is exactly the same as with Verizon, so you should get some C-band and sub-6 5G signal. As for 4G, both phones use the majority of AT&T's bands and most of their major bands, so coverage should be pretty good. T-Mobile has started kicking phones off its network that don't utilize its voice over LTE. I've not been able to find any official confirmation that the Magic 7s can use this feature, but since it seems like T-Mobile is allowing the phones on its network, I'm guessing they can. On T-Mobile, you sadly won't get any sub-6 5G, but you should be able to pick up their mid-band 5G frequency band, band 41. So if you get T-Mobile's mid-band 5G where you live, you might get some decent coverage and speeds. As for 4G, the phone uses 5 out of 6 of their 4G bands, so your coverage there should be solid. Well, that's all the information I have for today. If you do wind up picking up this phone, please feel free to come back and let us know down in the comments how well the phone is working for you so we can all learn from each other and make more informed buying decisions. As always, I hope you found this video useful. Thank you for watching, and until next time, this is Rando Tech Info, signing out.